Alright, well, so far I've taken off the steering wheel. Well, first you take off this big nut from the steering wheel, and then you can slide the steering wheel off. I bought a steering wheel press because it's not supposed to slide on and off so easy, but it just came right off. So I guess it just wasn't even pressed on there. That's part of the problem. Anyway, the reason for this repair is because the steering column moves up and down. We've been finding these little, I don't know if you can see how small this is, but we've been finding these little steel balls which are coming out of a bearing, which should be, it's not this bearing, but that's a bearing that is like the one that I'm trying to get at to replace. I haven't opened the package for the replacement bearing yet. Let me take a look at that. What do we got here? So I'm trying to keep this stuff organized and off of this thing that always flips up when you put your elbow on this part down here. It's a center seat that flips up, so I'm not trying to keep anything in the cups that's parts that could fly all over the back seat. Let's take a look at this new bearing that came in the mail from, is it Rock Auto? No, something else. The parts, stickers on all of the advertising. I just ripped that from the Parts Place Inc.com. The Parts Place, oh yeah. Alright, so we got a bearing from the Parts Place Inc.com. Take a look at it here. It's not greased, so we're gonna need some grease after we put it on, but it looks just like that one, but the fulcrum of the jiggle is like here, so I'm gonna be digging into this steering column a little bit to check that out. Now, before I started digging into this, I was instructed to cut this in half and see if I could get at the bolts to tighten this in there, because they didn't think it was a bearing until I did get in there and the steel balls fell out and the bolts were loose, and I was able to tighten what we didn't get to the bolt heads here. I was able to see where the bolt threads are, and I was able to grip the threads with pliers to tighten those bolts to get this thing to stop wiggling as much, but the bearing's bad. So we got to get into there to get the bearing fixed. There's other reasons to fix it anyway. I guess the other guy who was working on it, you know, there's always one thing fixed and one thing going wrong. Now you know, you don't need the key to turn it on, however that happened, so the cylinder needs to be replaced. And something's wrong with this. I forget what they told me was wrong with this. Doesn't have... it wasn't a wiring thing, it was like, it's not clicking right, it's not transmitting motion correctly, some linkage had come apart. I'm trying to take pictures of like the various stages of how I'm taking parts out of this thing, so I don't forget what I did. I'm starting to get this loose. I'm going to tighten this back up again to see what I'm missing about. So I think that's what it was. It's like to turn on the high beam headlights, it isn't staying in place and clicking the way it's supposed to. Something's off in here. Let's see. So I believe this will eventually need to be taken out. I'll do that later. Let me take this off first and see what happens. And there's two more screws in here that I'll have access to. Right there and down here. This is a little electrical contact, like a spring-loaded copper pin that's connected to some wires over there, and then it rubs along on this electrical contact plate, and then this little hole sticks in through the steering wheel and spins with the steering wheel, and allows a little spring-loaded contact to press into the conductive thing there so that the horn can, the horn switch that's on the wheel can have some electrical connection to where the horn actually gets powered, while also being able to spin around. Oh, I don't want to take any of this stuff off in a way that's going to make it too difficult for me to understand how to put it back together, because I'm not really a mechanic. I'm just doing this because nobody else is going to do it properly, and I could probably learn to, so... Alright, this little lever came off of this thing. That obviously was in this little slot here, and that is supposed to rotate this entire... Yeah, okay, so that's the blinker mechanism, is that this gets screwed into there, forces this stuff around. Boy, that's a complex mechanism, because it's like also when you turn the wheel, it's going to... I can't even understand really what the wheel turning is going to do to it without seeing it. Yeah. I don't know, there may be some kind of pin on the wheel that when it returns to some position, it'll click this back into place. That's interesting. Be cool to see it in operation. Anyway, so at least I know how to slot that back in when I've got the rest of this stuff together. You can see the slot for it. So that's the part for the blinker mechanism to attach to the stick. Alright, so next I guess I'll take out these two screws I pointed out, see what they do, because the blinker mechanism's in front of that. But I suppose I'm going to have to take off these metal springs to be able to slide that out, because it's held in by the thing behind it. It's loose except for under the springs. So I think that actually is the next move before I unscrew the other things. So I have to take the blinker mechanism outside of its whole area here by removing the springs. So, seems like... let me get a close-up of that. I'm not exactly sure how to start pulling these apart, but we've got, like, okay, here we go. Oh my god. Alright. Okay, that wasn't hard to find. Oh man. Okay, that spring, alright, let's see. That spring tucks underneath here and grips onto that, and then you see, it grips onto this little plastic lip, and then it goes underneath this other metal lip, and then grips that little plastic lip down there with its hook. So, just remember that. And then we'll put this spring aside, and then, let's see here. Oh boy, I hope this one doesn't fly out. Okay, here we go. Alright, so the way to put that one in is it's got this little nub, or it's got the metal piece has this hole, and there's this little plastic nub in this recess here, and then it's supposed to see this plastic piece that's like actually attached to the blinker arm rotates, and these springs are kind of what keeps it in place, because it's held in by this thing behind it. See, this plate behind it that's screwed in with all these screws is what kind of holds the springs in. That's what these lips are on, is not the thing that I'm about to take off, but the plastic part behind it. And it's rotating on this fulcrum here. I wonder what kind of attachment that is. I'm not getting a good grip on it, so the thing is it's also attached right here, so I've got to get that little it out from under that clip. I think I can just pull it back. Gentle with the old plastics, although these don't feel like they've gotten brittle, so whatever this plastic is lasting nicely. Okay, so I've got that clip off, and then I'm gonna rotate it a little bit up here. Okay, so it's stuck on this fulcrum pretty good. I'm not exactly sure what type of attachment it's got. I see female screw threads on the inside of that little hole right there, which means that I imagine it's attached by a bolt to possibly this plate behind it. So I'm gonna get the Phillips screwdriver and start taking off this plate here. Looks like there's 3 screws to take off that other plastic plate behind this first one. Maybe they'll just kind of come off together. We can leave them together or something. I might have been able to leave those springs in now that I'm thinking about it, because I could undo all of these screws and then take both plastic pieces out at once with the springs together. Thing is, I wanted to check and make sure that there wasn't a way to separate them, because I'd like to be seeing each layer of mechanism here, so that I'm doing a good job of memorizing this system in the best way I can for the type of memorizing things that I'm used to. The kind of thing that I'd be good at memorizing is holistically understanding the mechanical system, so that I can remember what a part looks like and understand which function it has in the system, and then have a general memory of the complex shape of how this goes. Certainly I could just use this video to refer back to and do the steps in reverse, but I want to understand this system holistically anyway. And I'm more comfortable with the idea of knowing how everything works before I take it all the way apart. Oh, here we go. So I have to unscrew the hazard light control plunger to get this thing out of here. See, it's making me nervous that I'm getting through so many of these items without seeing exactly how they're connecting to anything. So anyway, I mean, the hazard switch has got this button inside of a sleeve with a spring inside of it and a screw that screws into something that's part of the back plastic piece. So that you could take it out. Let's see. Okay, first of all, we're attached to a bunch of wires here. I've got to figure out how I can get loose from them. I'm not sure why they're in here. Oh, let's see. So, first of all, that's the black bump back there is what the hazard light's screwed into. I did not have to take those springs off, so I could put those back. Okay, so we've got some kind of springy contacts back here that I'm going to need to make sure I know what the heck those are supposed to be touching. Probably these 2 wire terminals, and that has to do with the ignition cylinder, I suppose. How to get the wires off is my next question. So, they've got these Torx head bolts around the lock cylinder and down in this other corner. I wonder if I'm supposed to keep taking stuff apart by just wiggling this thing out of the way a little bit until the wires aren't such a problem. I'm not even supposed to have access to it down here, but that doesn't seem to really help me deal with the wires at all anyway, so I'm not sure how to get this thing out of here. I guess that's better than nothing. Okay, well anyway, that's what the hazard lights screw into. that little black screw port. We've got a couple of wires that are pulling a little bit, maybe. Okay. Gotta be careful with that. I guess we could start taking the other bolts out now. This spring, is that removable? Yeah, probably should take that off for now. Let's see. That bearing isn't looking so hot either, actually. So, I'm gonna start by taking off those Torx bolts then. Need to get another screwdriver here. Got all the screwdrivers splashed everywhere. Let's see. So that size. Close. One more up. Alright. Just check. Well, so get this sort of dangling out of the way with the wires keeping me from pulling it any further. I just took out all those Torx head screws. Something in the back is holding it together. It looks kind of like I need to take this thing out. Okay. So that's going to slide into that little black hole right there. See? Terminals face upwards. That's what that's supposed to look like. And then with that pushed all the way in, this goes over the hole, and something back here touches those contacts. I think it's these. So it's the way that's supposed to go. This is supposed to rotate to about this position or something. Okay, so with this taken out, does this move? No, still caught on that screw, I guess. I've got this screwdriver here that looks like it'll fit that. Torx head, pretty tight on there. Got it loose, and it's a stiff turning bolt. Ooh, that's interesting. It's got, I've never seen that before, 2 different depths of screw head, of screw thread, sorry. I'm going to get a background on this that allows it to zoom properly. You can kind of tell. I don't know. It's hard to see. But anyway, before I forget, that's the screw. This weird screw holds the lock cylinder in place and goes in that hole right there. Oh, jeez. This in here just... Okay. Now, does it move? Yes. So the lock cylinder came out. We can replace that when it comes in. Okay, now the whole thing does move, but this thing's in the way of this now. So I'm not really sure. I don't know. What's next? What else could I take off? First of all, this, I think they said unscrews. So we're gonna have to unscrew that. I think I'm gonna leave it in until I've exhausted other options for like what to do about this though. Seems like I'm gonna need to be able to unclip this somehow. I really don't want to take all the wiring apart on this thing. That would be terrible. I bet you the trick is that there's some way underneath here to unclip this wiring harness. Let's do a little check on something like that real quick. Okay. It's going down under here. It looks like there's a clip. What color are the wires? Let me take this jacket off. Okay. We got pink, gray, white. Another pink. Jeez. Could use a flashlight. I don't know if that's the right one. Because up here, what do we have? We've got green, white, yellow, purple, black, blue, green, orange. A whole bunch of stuff. So, you can see that that runs down to here. I keep trying to look for that bundle. Oh, I think it must be all of this stuff. So maybe I could unclip this somehow. How is this gonna work? Is that top one? Because all of this, yeah, so that's attached to that. It seems to pull straight through, but not everything is going to be able to pull through off of this. So I can't just take out this big wire bus. That won't do it, because this one's attached going down to here. So that means that I'll be yanking on that, which I guess I could disconnect this and that. Be a shame to have to do all this wiring work, but I might have to. We'll see. Let me just keep looking around at this thing. So yeah, I'm stuck removing the wire clip down there. And then I can unscrew this and take this whole assembly off, and then we can finally do our bearing work. All right, what a pain. So, I guess I'm probably gonna have to end up disconnecting these connectors as well as just getting this big wire bus out. But I'll get the wire out, the big wire bus out first, and then I'll work on that other wire connection as I need to. How do you get this one out of here? This is pretty strange. Might need a flashlight on this. All right, I got it. Okay. So there's a little tab that you had to pull on the front that was obvious, but there was also one on the back that required the use of a screwdriver that was harder to see. I got that apart. And now we're gonna see if any of this is hung up on anything. Oh yeah, I have 2 more connectors to disassemble. I just feel this. Ow! I keep stabbing myself on stuff in here. Okay, so it does pull out more. Oh, sorry. This thing pulls out of there a little bit now. I keep stabbing myself on this thing that everybody bent up. Okay, let's see. So this one. All right, here's the thing, is I'm gonna have to remember what I'm doing here. Got a couple of things going on. So if I unclip this wire, unstab it, and take this white wire out of here. Oh, shit. Oh. Screwed onto this switch for some reason. What am I gonna do about that? Does that just pull out of there? No. I don't want to cut any wires. That's just stabbed on. And that is a tight compartment to pull this thing through anyway. Okay, so I was right about needing to unclip these wires down at the bottom. And I guess there's a whole bunch of stuff under here that I need to take off to be able to get it to slide through properly. I already unscrewed the 2 screws on the bottom of this thing. This thing has a couple of wires bolted on here that I'm gonna have to be careful with and disconnect. So let's take a look at that, because I don't want to forget what this looks like. We've got a switch here for something. I don't know what that's for. Maybe this radio. I'm gonna have to have this slide through, it looks like. Right.
Trying to charge it where the plugs and the batteries are all good, so they can't start it.
Oh, damn it.
Let that go for a while.
Rest that on the pedals. Hopefully that doesn't hurt that wire too bad. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, never mind.
No, we don't need them right this second. We just, after they're done and headed this way is fine. In an hour or 2 is fine. Okay? Yeah. Well, you don't have to do it. I mean, they're coming this way anyway, right?
That bit onto there, that bit onto there, and that's it. Okay. Now I need to take this clip off.
All right, thanks. Okay, that'll be here in a couple hours. Let somebody else gets there first.
Okay. Let's see. I'm about to get the last wire clip off. I've got all the other ones disconnected and memorized. I'm filming this whole thing so that I can refer back to it if I need to.
Okay.
Don't really make these wire clips easy to take out.
Which kind are they?
And you've got to pry the tab on the back side while pulling on the tab on the front side.
Yeah.
get a different screwdriver. Do you want to mess with the dryer a little bit? Oh.
Yeah, I can take a look at the power output at least.
Let's take a look at that. Alright, we got the dryer figured out. It had a thermal fuse blown out. It works fine with the wires bridged, so we'll get the new thermal fuse. Get that going. This clip doesn't want to come out. There we go. Okay, I think that's all the stuff, all the wires I needed to disconnect. I'll make sure I'm being careful with this one somehow. I'm gonna try to jam this up into there. There we go. Okay, now I need to take these big bolts off so I can get this bracket out of here. I suppose, I feel like in the video they had another bracket on this, but I think I just need to take off this one and then slide this plastic wire sheath out of here, and then I can pull everything through. So I'm gonna go ahead and try that. Is that gonna drop this thing on me? Didn't look like that's what happened in the video, but this looks like how this thing needs to be mounted on here. I'm kind of curious what this looks like coming through the firewall on the other side. Well, it's got that ball joint on it. Maybe that'll hold it down in place. I don't know. Guess I could just prop it up if I need to. Okay, well, just right size those bolts are. Not that big. Oh, you know what? This angle's gonna mean that I need to use my socket set that got stolen. Everybody keeps ruining everything that I do. Oh, gotta go buy another socket set because everybody's a fucking thief. Alright, well, I finally hunted down a working ratchet since my nice socket set that I haven't even gotten to open yet got stolen. Let's see here. Okay. Let's see what happens when I take those 4 bolts out. Doesn't feel like it's dropping the shaft. Okay. All right, so these bolts go into this bracket. And there's bigger nuts on it that I need to take off too. And that's the part that seems like it might drop the column down. Yeah, I think it will. Okay, I don't think this is gonna be the same size. And I would need an extension anyway. Let me see here. It's not the same size. Let's see if I can find the right socket here. Let's see here. Let's try this 15 millimeter. Yep. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, do we have an extension in that thing? Yeah. Need that. Okay, so these big nuts on the bracket are torqued on pretty tight. I'll remember that. Okay, I still don't need to ratchet them for a while. Pretty loose. No? Okay, this one is. Oh man. There we go. Okay. Got those nuts on the big bracket. Let's take the last one off and see how far this steering column wants to droop after that. Okay, another nut, and the bracket where the big nuts were, and those 4 bolts. There wasn't any bolts in the front holes. Okay, and then I suppose there's this plastic sheath for the wires that I just need to pull out. Let me take a look at that. Okay. Thought I could just kind of open the side of this thing. Ah, I see. Okay, so you move these wires out of the side of it. You've got to kind of pull it off some square studs that it sits on. Okay, and you can kind of pull this whole thing out. I think I'm going to leave that little plastic strip in that has this one wire in it. I'm not sure what that's for. But yeah, basically this thing was shoved in there with like a little metal square sticking through this hole. You needed to kind of pry it away from that so you can get it to slide around, and then the wires just come out from between there, I guess. And so now I might be able to start pulling this thing through. Looks like it's working. Just have to angle this clip in there properly. Trying not to yank on anything too hard. One thing I was gonna do. Oh no, I don't know. Hold on, let me think. How am I gonna get this back through here is my question. I was thinking of doing something along the lines of tying something to the back of it so that I could pull it back through, but somehow I'm not thinking that's worthwhile, because then I'd have a string stuck through this other thing that I'm supposed to take off. That doesn't seem worthwhile. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pull this out. I feel like I should be able to tie it together and feed it back through there later. Okay, so it's caught on this plastic piece. All the wires are intact, so that's that part. See what I'm talking about? Oh man. Alright. Yeah, I leaned on this thing a little bit and almost spilled my cup full of parts. That's what I'm worried about with keeping this here. Alright, I'll probably move that down somewhere safer in a minute. I just don't have a good place for it to not topple over by itself right now. Okay, so with that bunch of wires out of there, now what I need to do is take this top piece off. I've got to take this thing off next, and I think I have to feed the wire for this up through it as well, which I've also got disconnected already. So we'll take a look at that. The lock cylinder, I guess, can go in there. And then this part needs to go back in here. Okay, so this can come off. There's a way that it goes in here. It's pretty obvious. I'll film how these plastic parts go together anyway, though. You can see that this kind of slides apart and then this becomes loose. So when you slide this back together, you're gonna have to make sure that those things all line up. There's some missing piece that when you slide this apart, there's supposed to be like a switch mechanism for the high beams in here that is just gone. So I think we have that part in there. In fact, it'd probably be worth taking a look at how that part is supposed to integrate with all this stuff before I get through taking everything apart. So let's see, these are the two parts that we just picked up. This one, what the... don't think that's for this vehicle. I think that's a window switch or something. Maybe. Oh, I don't know. Hold on a second. What is this? Dimmer switch. Yeah, that's not what I mean. No, this is the lock cylinder. We have that when we need it. But yeah, there's supposed to be something inside of there. Okay, well at this point I can see what's going on here, so I'll just unscrew this. Because I know, I can see it now, so there's nothing, no surprise about what's going on there. Let's put that in here for now. What else? Let me just drop this part. That kind of goes on there like that. Yeah, just like that. It's got a groove there for it, okay. So that sits in there, that goes on there. And then there's supposed to be a switch in here that's not present. Alright, well let's get this wire up here, I guess. Yep, I guess I do need to do something with that. Okay, that's what that is. I don't know about that right now. And that stick slots into that hole, okay. So, this hole has this peg that goes into it. So it's this long hole here. And then yeah, I've got to take the wire that goes to this thing out as well. So I'm gonna have to get under there and check that out. All right. Where's that one going? Need a flashlight. Okay, let's see. All right. Okay, well, I see how that works. All right. I might just take that thing with it. Okay, let's see. I guess I'll just take this off for now. Anyway, I don't know. Oh man, that looks like a mess that I don't want to deal with figuring out. All right, well, this spring setup, I'm not sure. This little bolt clips onto it. I'm not sure exactly what this mechanism is. But basically we've got a bolt holding down this part of the spring, but it's loose. It can move around in there. And then we've got that spring just bending around to turn into this strange coiled shape. if you can see that in there, it just kind of goes up from down there to bend into here, then back out, and it does this strange coiling until it locks into that little bolt there. I'm not really sure what's going on with this either. Doesn't seem like it's attached to anything at all. I'm not sure what that must have been for. So I'll have to pay attention to what that must be doing when we're putting it back together. That might be the high beam switch. I'm not sure. Let's see. What's next though? So I don't know what that is. This whole thing's moving around a lot, but that's just because the bracket's out. I'm trying to figure out why this part moves around inside of there. And that's supposed to be on here like this. And then the plastic piece kind of goes up against that spring there. I think it hits this part here. That's what's supposed to happen. Alright, well, we got the steering pivot pin remover tool. Let's see if these bolt threads are actually the correct size. They look a little off. Look a little small, but maybe that's just in contrast to the very large threads that are also on this thing. Looks like it might be a little small there, but we'll see. Well, feels good. Okay. So you take this tool, you put it over this thing and screw this in and tighten the nut down on it to be able to pull that pin out of this thing. There's two of them. Let's see, we'll get it all the way into those threads so that way we're gripping onto as many of them as we can. Does this not come with? Okay, where's a... I'll just use these pliers. Oh, I've got wrenches over here. Yeah, no way I would have been able to do that with just a bolt and a claw hammer. That's pretty tight. Alright. So you really do need the puller tool for these pins. Probably wouldn't have just been able to make that out of some kind of soft piping either. I had some galvanized conduit tubing around I could have used to fabricate something like this, but what's the point in that? I found this at Napa Auto Parts in stock for $12 on the shelf, I think. Something like that. Okay, feels a lot looser now. There we go, got a pin out. Greasy pin. So let's back that nut back off. Keep this pin inside our cup of materials. I don't think they are side dependent. Looks perfectly round in every respect. Okay, that greasy pin down there. And I'll start threading this onto the other side. Loctite. It's kind of crushing my tool a little bit, getting this thing off. It's forcing the nut threads crooked. That's not good. Let's take a look at that. This cheap tool has the open part kind of squeezing down, and it looks like it's cocking those nut threads the wrong direction. So let's see what happens when we spin this the other direction. Didn't mess up the threads on the bolt shaft. Okay, so I'm going to unscrew this a little bit and get it past whatever part it got bent up on. Okay, and then let's see. I'm going to try moving this at a different angle. Let's see, is it pulling it out? I'm gonna back it off and see if I'm making any progress. I wonder if there's some way to reinforce this thing. Let me try to bend this back into the right shape here. So I've kind of started to crush the washer part of this thing down underneath the sides. They're supposed to support it, so see if I can get this washer piece straightened back out. A little stiff for me to do with my fingers, so let's get another pair of pliers. Oh, that's really disappointing. Maybe I'll get around to fabricating something like this after all. It's interesting. So one thing I'm doing is I'm switching around the nut and the washers because it seems to me the washers should have been on this other side. Wonder if that's part of the instructions here. Yeah, the washers were supposed to be switched around with this, for one thing. Alright. So that's a little messed up. Alright, washers. And then we'll put this black washer on. It's supposed to be the top of this thing. It's a little larger than the other ones. I'm going to squeeze this so that the washer rides on these steel edges a little better. Try not to break it. It's not malleable. So, Let's see how this goes. So this is how I've got it hooked up now, with the broken off piece just acting as a washer that hangs on top of this other part of the housing. This part of the housing is a little bit closer to the bolt than it was before. I've got it kind of shoved up here off of one of these lips back here. Hopefully that'll allow me to use the broken tool here. Problem is that puts it over the pin I'm pulling, I'm just realizing. So once I get it pulled out a little bit, I'm gonna have to reposition. Yes, it's on top of the pin under there, so let me just reposition this real quick. It's starting to go. So you can use it while it's broken. I should have read the instructions first and put those washers where they needed to be. It was pretty obvious in retrospect. Alright, so we got those two pins out. Let's see what's next. I think at this point, I don't know what this is called, but this whole housing is supposed to come off at some point here. So I've got this spring out. And that's gonna have to be out of here to take the rest of this off. And I also need to get this pin out. So, all right, let me find something. I'm gonna take care of that because we don't need that. Let me turn it. What is this? Lock cylinder. I'll put that in here. need something for these greasy parts. Something to hold this stuff. Okay. Where the really greasy stuff will go. So I guess this is gonna come out with it. Let's see if we can get this out. Let's go ahead and a couple of tools working on that. There we go. Okay, greasy pin for the, so this pin's for the ignition cylinder to drive to this gear and all this stuff over here. Yeah, I'm just gonna put the greasy pin for the ignition stuff in this bag of greasy parts. Now, this pin, supposed to get this out of here. Maybe I need to take this gear out first. I'm just gonna leave it there. Okay, so I got this piece out. That's supposed to go in there like that. Okay, I'll figure that out when we get back to it. Alrighty. That pin came out of there. Now this spring here is held on by this little bolt. And that spring, this, here, I'll just take it off and then I'll point out the parts. Okay, that's a little tougher than I was expecting. Okay, I'm gonna leave that on there. Okay, so yeah, this part went under the screw. This part went into that plastic gear, and this part hooked onto that pin that I took out of this hole. I'm gonna put that in the parts cup. Now this, there's a couple of pieces in here that I'm gonna need to deal with here. Now, this piece is dangling here. There's this spring that goes into a hole or a flat part of this plastic thing that got cut in half erroneously when we thought that we might not have to do this whole job. And without this plastic in place, it's a little floppy, so we've got to remember that it goes over this little hook as part of this ignition transmission thing, and it rests on top of this metal bracket on top, and then this lever is supposed to stick out and be the lever that you do some kind of tilt control with or something like that. And I don't think it's the tilt, it's some other motion for the steering column, I think. I don't remember. Now, we're supposed to take this apart, but how's that going to work? I don't want to lose this stuff, so maybe I'll put this part that came off of the center shaft in the cup. And that's like right up against the bearing, I guess, which is coming apart right now. How does this thing come off of here? I mean, it's like trying to slide off this shaft. The bearing's kind of coming apart here. I gotta wipe my hands off or something. So I'm gonna try to take this pin out that's on top. It doesn't move very easily. Hopefully I can get it with this hammer. This thing is bouncing around a little bit too much for me to get a good impact on this pin. I'm gonna try to push it over really hard. Jeez. What's going on here? So what they want you to do, you don't have to take this pin thing out at the top. What they want you to do is have the if I can put this back together real quick to show you. They want you to do is have the tilt mechanism pulled back. I'm not sure how I'm going to put this back on. Let me take a look at this. So let me just put this down. So there's this spring-loaded tilt mechanism. Basically, it wanted me to pull this lever back to be able to take this off. So these teeth were clamped onto this piece like this, so you have to kind of let it bite onto there to get it back on, which is gonna be a challenge, I guess, once we get to that stage. Gotta keep this stick out of the way. The high beam switch, dimmer switch rod. Okay, so then I'll pull this back, and then that'll kind of go back onto there. Okay, and then that's on. And then to take it off again, pull that tilt mechanism back, and then it just comes right off. Okay. So that's what it is. You don't knock this pin around, you just pull this back and activate the tilt mechanism to pull away from these pins here. That's what it is. All right, so I'm gonna put this, this is what I'm changing the bearings on, so I'm gonna keep this next to me. Now, this ball joint, I guess there's not supposed to be any bearing or anything down there. Yeah, it looks like there might be a little bit of play in this ball joint, but not really that bad. We don't have the replacement ball joint, so we're just gonna let it be. It's looking pretty good. Okay, that's fine. All right, well, oops. Gonna have to pack the bearings into this thing. Which bearing was losing balls then? If this one isn't the one. Is there another one that disintegrated down there? Anyway, while I'm here, I can tighten these bolts that have been coming loose. It's a strange star head on them. Now, this bearing's more together than the other one now. The other one's all falling apart. Got it in pieces. I don't know which one was dropping the ball bearings out of it to begin with. The little balls were falling out of this thing, but the other one I thought had them all up until recently. Got one new bearing, so I guess I'm going to leave this other one in here and try to extract the ring from this one. And take a look at that new one. Okay, so yeah. That's the way it goes in. So I'm going to have to tap that other one out while trying to be careful to not mess this one up because we don't have two of them. We only ordered one. It's working. Okay, so this outer ring of the bearing came out after tapping it down a little bit. I'll just put that in the cup even though I don't need it. Actually, that's going to confuse me. I'm going to take that part out. Oh, my leg hurts for no reason. Okay. Now what they want you to do is find a socket that fits around it nicely and hammer that down. I wonder if I could use this part of the old bearing to help out a little bit. I don't know about that. Well, let me see how my sockets fit this. I'm so messy, I need a rag. I was looking at my sockets to see if the sockets would fit over this well to hammer down that bearing, but it seems like the sockets are just going to end up hammering on that plastic part, and I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to maybe use one of these screwdrivers to kind of tap it down carefully into position. is definitely not the best setup for this. I need a table to go work on this on. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to go take it to the bench. Okay. Let's see. I'll be right back. That's a good. Got the ring from the old bearing. Might help me tap this one in without damaging the plastic on the new one. Just don't want to get this one stuck down there. It's looking pretty good. I think that's almost all the way. Okay, I think it's in the right position. Yeah, well, it moves nicely and it looks like it's pretty much bottomed out. So I think we're good to take this over and start putting it back together. I did not find the inverted Torx type driver socket for these bolts here. Been told to use, because I guess they are, I think 8mm or number 8 inverted Torx heads, but I've been asked to try to use this 1/4-inch 6-point socket and thread locker and see if we can get it taken care of like that, because we do not have the correct Torx inverted Torx socket for this. I'm going to take out one of the loose bolts and put some thread locker on it for now, and then put it back in, thread lock the others so that I don't have to take the thing all the way apart. Okay. Just get a little bit of the dirt off it. Rest it gently on my pants, and hopefully it doesn't roll around as I'm opening this tube of thread locker here. Okay. I'm just going to apply some thread locker to the very bottom of this, because most of these threads don't engage. It's just this tip at the bottom that engages. I'll just get that all the way around there, because we don't want these coming loose again. And I'll shove that back in there and tighten it as much as I can with this 6-point socket. 1/4-inch socket that I'm being asked to use. It's working so far, no skipping. Except I feel like the threads might be, well, no, never mind, now it's getting tight. It had a tight point in the rotation, made me think that it was skipping on the threads. Now, I don't know how tight to go with these, but I'm afraid to do it too much because it feels like it keeps going, and I don't want to strip the threads up. So I think I put, let me just feel, let me see if I can get a good feel for the torque foot-pounds that I put on that. So maybe 15 to 20, 10 to 15, I guess, because the foot's going to be further up to like right here. It feels like maybe 18 to 20 pounds. It's about 20 pounds there, so maybe 15 foot-pounds of torque is what I've got on that thing. Roughly. Okay, those threads aren't looking great. But we're gonna put it back in there. We're trying to get this truck back into service. Oh, it feels like we never really have the time and manpower to get things done in a very thorough way over the last few months. I don't know. It's kind of why I'm doing this job myself. We've been trying to have John do a lot of this stuff, but things just don't get handled terribly thoroughly, and now I'm trying to get it done myself. And this is my dad's truck. My dad's owned this truck longer than I've been alive, and you know, it's up to him what parts to put on it. He ordered one bearing instead of two, looked at a schematic, thought it was going to be one. There's only one type of bearing that goes in here, but there's two to replace. We kept one of them, the best condition one. I'll grease them up, and having one, the actually broken one replaced, I guess, is good enough for now. We're not replacing this plastic part of the ball joint either. But that's okay. Frankly, this wasn't too bad now that I know what all these parts are and how this thing works. I think that one's already out. There's some little shavings in this one. Try to scrape those out with this little screwdriver. Yeah, I mean, this took some time. It's going to continue to take some time, and there was a lot of things to remember about how to put this back together. A few puzzles to figure out as far as how to take this thing apart, I guess. But it really, in retrospect, doesn't feel like it was too bad. I just kind of moved through it pretty casually. Didn't try to make it happen super quickly, though, so... Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've been shifting gears too much, spreading myself too thin, having a hard time focusing on such a large number of very different types of cognitive tasks. You know, between this kind of stuff and, repairing vehicles or whatever, building houses, and then trying to make improvements on our own property, and not only trying to deal with figuring out good ideas for what to do over here, but also coming up with ideas for how to diplomatically get people to agree to good ideas instead of bad ones, because that's a problem too. Fresh can of high temperature grease. We don't need high temperature grease for this, but it was the same price as regular grease, so we just decided we'd go with the stuff we're allowed to use on more things. done this before. I'm gonna try to make an observation of where the other grease is, and just where all the sliding parts are, and grease them up without making a huge mess on places where, you know, like I don't want to just shove so much grease down there that it starts falling through the plastic, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to drip down onto there and start working its way through. And try to pack a lot of grease into the interior of this ball joint, you know, try to get the different sections of it filled up, like right here. Start with that. There's also this ignition slide piece that slides in this rail here. I'm going to put some grease into that and let that get all moved around in there. That's good. Those pieces slide against each other. Don't need grease there. Okay, so yeah, I'm not really a mechanic. I've been around mechanics and auto shops for all my life, I guess, off and on. My dad owned one when I was a kid, so I spent a lot of time there. And I've been around auto repair stuff all my life, but I don't know, it's not the thing that I focused on learning. I didn't really intend on focusing on learning the trades, like working on houses and buildings either, but I'm doing it for money. That's fun. I learned a lot. I like fixing houses and renovating houses and all that jazz. I kind of like working on cars sometimes, you know, it's takes a different kind of patience and interest, you know. The intrigue is different with this than it is with renovating houses and stuff. And obviously the tool set and knowledge base is different with this than it is with working on houses. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to do stuff with math and computer programming and cognitive science, but I'm stuck doing what I'm more qualified for. In fact, I started working in the trades not really that qualified for it. I just kind of jumped into it. I started this business 8 years ago without really having any professional experience, and it worked out fine. Just started figuring stuff out. Did a pretty good job of it. I had enough of a background knowing about trades stuff and being around that kind of thing throughout my childhood that it was easy for me to pick up. And I did have some experience at different jobs that I'd had, kind of being their handyman guy and figuring out stuff for them. So, and I was doing a lot of that kind of thing for my girlfriend at the time, because working on her house made her like me more. So I had some experience in the trades. It's not like I knew nothing about it, but okay, I thought I was moving some ball bearings around in there, but it's just junk from the old broken bearing. Okay. But yeah, so I started this business with like some experience and knowledge in the trades, but only at kind of an amateur level. Just sort of dove into trying to figure out how to do all the rest of the type of trades work that I wanted to try to be in business doing. I started the handyman business thinking I was starting a painting business that I would hire people to work in. It just didn't really work out. You know, it's kind of hard to get enough sales in one type of job to specialize in it like that right off the bat. What happened was my advertising worked to get me a whole bunch of non-painting work, I didn't want to try to hire a bunch of people to do a bunch of stuff that I felt unprepared to hire people to do. I felt more prepared to just start learning to do these tasks myself when people said that they needed something done. I don't know if the ball bearings did escape. I'm gonna have to get that out of there. But yeah, I want to be doing other things occupationally and academically, but it just never works out. I've got to do all this stuff to make some money and keep things working. I'm trying to have John do this automotive repair stuff, but there's some of these things that I can just tell, you know, it's not going to be really his strong suit. Try to memorize the location of all of these different little mechanical parts and stuff. It's really something that I should just handle, because I'm better at those kinds of mechanical puzzle tasks. Like just there, you know, when I accidentally moved that ball bearing out of place while lubricating this thing, I'm not sure John would have picked up on something like that. He would have missed a ball and the thing would have fallen apart. There would have been no good explanation of why, because nobody paid attention to what was happening. And yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna take care of some of the maintenance for this work truck that's been in my family longer than I have, and my Jeep that I bought that I want to do all the work myself on. I should finally get around to learning all this automotive stuff anyway. It's been long enough time now that I can't rely on anybody else to take charge of this aspect of the work that needs to be done to keep things going, but I'm finally kind of giving in, deciding to learn the automotive stuff. All right. This is all greased up pretty well. I think I'm gonna start putting it on there. That should be good. That goes through this hole. I'm not in the right clothes for this. I should have taken this jacket off. Where's the screwdriver? This jacket's ruined anyway. Some girl got a bunch of pink paint on it, and I got a bunch of caulking on it a while ago. And no use trying to keep the grease off this thing anyway, really. So I guess the pins have some tension down on them from the springs for this thing. So, like, I don't know, to start the second pin, I might have to pull that mechanism back. So let's just set that aside. I'm going to get rid of the super dirty paper towel for now. Just kind of try to clean up a little bit. End up packing a little bit more grease onto that in a little bit, but I don't know why that is still so wiggly. Hopefully when we put that little cap on it, it stops that shit. There's the bearing. The new bearing doesn't look different than the old one, so I don't see, unless there's a third bearing that fell apart in there that we're missing. Because that would explain all these little balls that came out that I don't know where they came from. Because I know this one's empty now, but I thought it was full when I was taking it off, so I'm not sure where those first ball bearings came out of, although it might have just been a couple that I didn't notice falling out there. Alright, let's try to press one of those pins in. That's not it. There's the little stick. So yeah, I guess a couple of the weird tricks about this thing is that this tilt lever needs to be messed with to be able to get this part off. And it's not screwing in there straight. I'm gonna have to work on that a little bit more carefully later. Yeah, so that's one of the weird things. And then, you know, you gotta have that puller tool for these pins. That wasn't expected. You know, we thought we were missing the high beam switch, but it just was that this stick wasn't in the hole. There you go. You just gotta get it in that hole down there. Alright. Where's those pins? Here we go. Here's one. Alright. Well, they seem identical to each other. Oops. The fact that it has grease on the bottom of it, I think is just a consequence of the bottom of it getting close to the thing. I don't think you want to grease these. Let's see if we're lined up. Pretty well. There we go. So let's see if we can hammer that in. Hey, I didn't even notice this hammer here before it went down. Too small, it doesn't register or something. All right. Went inside to get a totally different hammer because I didn't notice this one. Okay, oh, shit. Before I put these pins on, I'm supposed to put this together. So that needs to be taken back out. Great. Okay. Let's get our broken tool put back up together there. A couple of wrenches. Where did those things go? That's good enough. Dang it. It's almost there. I'm just gonna finish it with the tool. Okay, I guess it's. Oh, let's. Alright, I think that must be it. Yeah. Alright, now I have to pull this handle back, unclip it from there. And then I'll put this back together here. Now, it was this item. It goes over here. Oh, no, it's not on that. That's right. It's on this shorter peg. And then guess it does right on that peg. That's interesting. I didn't notice that before. Alright, I've got to pull this lever back to get it on there. Okay, maybe I should just finish assembling that whole ignition slide system before I pin it together, right? Because take a look at the parts I've got here. Put that back in like that. And then that's gonna have to be tapped onto the bearing kind of hard, I think. I think this thing's after it. Where's that spring? Let's see if we can tighten this spring to go into there. Got the pin. Alrighty, pin goes in there like that. Oh, I'm gonna have to have that. Okay, so the gear has to go in after the pin. Weird. There we go, I got it, okay. How am I gonna get that under there? There we go. Did I put it in the grease bag? I did. I think that's what I did. Alright. Seems like they did work to grease that. I'll get a little grease. Okay, and then small spade in. And I guess I'm supposed to hold onto this plastic thing and tap that in with a hammer. Feels good. Okay, feels like it's moving fine. Now I'm going to put the old lock cylinder over it for a second because it doesn't require a key to manipulate, and that should be an easy test of the feel of this thing. Feels good. All right. What else do I need to do with this thing? Why is that there? I guess that's working fine, and I can put the pins into it. Let's try that. I'm just gonna look through my parts again to make sure I don't need to put anything else on first. It's the hazard light spring. Put that in there so I don't forget that. That comes after the pins. Be interesting when I get back to that point. Anyway. Alright, let's put this one back in. Let's see what I need to do to line the other one up. Unfortunately, not too much. Okay, I didn't have to actuate the lever to line this up. Though I could imagine you might need to play with that tilt lever to get it to line up sometimes if you don't have this on terribly straight. This hammer is tiny. It's not terrible for this scenario, though. I don't have a ton of room for a huge hammer, I guess. All right, so there's a little bit of grease that I want to put on top of this spring here for this ignition slide system. Wish I'd gotten to that before I put this together. Okay, I'll tuck some of this under the bottom there. Let me see if I can use a screwdriver to just push it under there. A little bit of grease. Yeah, just shove it in there. All right, that's good. Nice and greased up. What else is moving around? What else needs grease? Get it on the back side of it a little bit. All the sliding metal parts. That looks good. That is still loose as hell, but if I press that into there, that should stop. Okay. Oh yeah, let's just see how hard I'm supposed to hammer that thing on. I didn't get to see this part of a video or anything, so I need to just press it into there. And I think a spring's supposed to hold that down anyways. There's not a lot of hammering to do, I would bet. Let me just try to knock it in there a little bit. maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm not a mechanic, so I can't tell you for sure what the conventions are without looking it up. And before I do that, I'm gonna try this and get a feel for how loose it is or whatever. And I'll look to see if there's a spring or something that's gonna hold this down. And if not, then I'll express my concern. Do some research. Yeah, it wiggles that thing right back out of there, so there must be a spring or something that holds it in. Okay, so I'll keep working on putting it back together and see if one of the parts that we put on is going to hold that back. Alright, so it should feel good if we get that held on there. Let's see if this is the right size for that bolt. Yes. Okay, that's on there. Just make sure again that it's working fine. I disconnect the battery? Does this thing need to be wired up for that to work? Okay, so the camera died, but the only thing you didn't see me do is thread this wire down into here. You just kind of get this thing going straight down into this hole in here. So yeah, this part here just needs to be kind of angled long ways with the wires and then shoved through this hole. And it's kind of, you'll probably have to move it back and forth a little bit to get it past everything, but eventually it gets down through there. And then there's a plastic sleeve I'm going to put on it later, but for now I'm going to try to get this to seat in there. And one of the things that I've been having trouble with is getting it to not clip onto these wires and making sure that this circle gets into this little divot here. So try to get that in there. See, now the wires are caught underneath it, so I need to make sure that they go back into some place in the corner there. Okay, well that does seem seated all the way down, so now I think it's these steep thread screws with the two different thread pitches on it that goes in these holes. And I think this is a T20 Torx head, so let's see if that's... Where is it? Here we go. Put it down here. Okay, let's see. Okay, now that doesn't seem quite right somehow. Check something. If that goes like that. I don't know. I'm gonna try one of the other holes. Do I have any other screws in here that could possibly work? Might be these short guys. There's a lot of different screws in here. Okay, well, I'll try it. Okay, I think it is these shorter Phillips ones that go in there. That feels more correct. But do I have 3 of those? I don't know. Yes, okay. Yeah, I think it's these shorter screws with a similar thread pattern, but One of those short Phillips heads ones. Let's see if that feels right in the rest of these holes. Yeah, I think that's right. So you can see that the blinker needs to be actuated in different positions to access at least that top screw. The bottom one you could get with the blinker in any position, but that top one you need the blinker to be in the right turn position for this to work. So there's that, and I've got all these springs put back together that I had taken apart before. They just kind of push down on one of this one, and then you can kind of unhook it and put all that back together, but that's already together, so that's fine. Now I think the next thing I need to do is put this little lever in, and I think it goes something like that. Yeah. So let me try to get that screwed into place. Okay. Now I think there's a pretty small screw in here, pretty small head screw that I'm going to use for this. I think it's this one with this tiny little Phillips head. Doesn't seem like it's gripping anything. That's not gonna work. Okay, so that wouldn't be it. It might be one of these larger headed screws. So instead of seating down inside of that metal slot, maybe it's just one of those large headed screws that kind of clamps down over the whole thing. So let's try something else. Well, that wouldn't be it. So I'm thinking then maybe it's this one with the bigger head on it. Okay, that's on there pretty good, so I think that's the right one. It's working. Okay. So that's what that looks like. And I just, there's this little, you can't see it too well, but there's this little metal pivot that has this little strip of metal that I put the peg for this arm underneath. Underneath that metal thing, so that's where I've got that slotted in. Let's see, what's next? So, there's a couple of other things here. This thing, how did this go in here? I don't remember. This might be... not for this moment. I'm not sure. I have no idea where this goes. And what about the hazard lights? Is that doing okay? Maybe I should put that on. In fact, I think that small-headed spring must be for this hazard light button. Yeah, must have been it. Okay, so I think the way this goes together is the spring goes inside the little cap for the hazard lights, and then this part goes inside of it so that it's got some spring action on it, and then that can't be right. Oh, I think the small peg goes up through this little hole. That's what it is, right? And then this side is the side that goes up against it. Okay, I think that's correct. So let me get that little screw. That doesn't seem to be working right. Okay, so that can't be correct. Okay, well, what does this thing do? So it doesn't look like my hazard light button is quite lining up on this thing. I think I have to rotate this a little bit, so I'm gonna loosen some of this a little. Oh, wait a minute, that's just for that item. Oh no. Okay, so since I would have to take this off to loosen those screws, I'm gonna try something. Dang. Well, hold on a second. Let me try. Okay, so that's attached to this. Okay. So that part is for the high, or the hazard lights. Okay, now yeah, so it does clip the edge of that hole a little bit. I'm not sure what I want to do about that. Let me think here. How is this thing supposed to work? Okay, I think it was the way that I had it before. I just wasn't pulling hard enough on it to do anything to it. Let's try it again. I wonder if this screw has stripped out the plastic threads it's going into or something. But either way, it's on there and working, so I'm okay with that. All right, excuse me. Okay, it might come later, I don't know. All right, so it might be time to put the clip on. We don't have the tool for this yet. Okay, and then what else? We need to do the wires and the bracket. Let me just make sure there's nothing else in this box. Oh, there's the other Torx driver. Okay, yep, nothing else in here. Just the horn mechanism and a couple other things for when I'm done. Wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense. Well, the clip has to go on first. There's no doubt about that. Maybe this is why the horn wasn't working. Anyway. Gets real close, but I can't quite do it without the tool. So, after that goes on, this will go. See, that just doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna have to watch the video, I guess, because that wouldn't be able to fit. Got this press tool that we need to put this retaining ring over this spring that pushes down on this little metal piece which holds the bearing together around the shaft here for the drive shaft, or not the drive shaft, the steering wheel column center shaft. And yeah, the ball bearings will just fall out without this thing. And previously they had, the last guy who was in here says he didn't, but how else would this have happened? He cut this spring, it needs to be a little bit longer. It's because he didn't have this press tool to be able to press that ring back on, so instead he just cut the spring that puts pressure on the little clip that holds the bearing together. That's why the bearing was falling apart in the first place, and why I'm doing this job is because he cut this spring in half. You can tell it was cut with a tool because of the way that the it's hard to see there, but you can just kind of see that the edge of this has been cut by a tool. It didn't break accidentally somehow. And he didn't have this press tool to put this on, so my dad was wondering how he got this thing back together last time without this thing. That's how he cut the spring in half and lost the high beam piece that we just got replaced here. Anyway, we've got the press tool. I've got this all back together. The camera had died when I had put just a little contactor that seems to slip in just underneath the ignition cylinder that touches two electrical contacts on the back of this combination blinker switch assembly. They're like right behind here. There's these two little fins that kind of stick out, these copper fins that stick out of this little thing that you insert right around back here behind this horn button, sort of, on the bottom side of this ignition cylinder, and it just pops in behind this blinker assembly piece to touch two terminals on the back side of that. I thought because of the way the springy brushes looked that it was supposed to brush on something that moved like this. Nope, it's just supposed to touch the back of this thing that has a couple of contacts on it. Now, I'll go ahead and thread this press tool onto this thing, but one of the things that you have to be sure to do before you start pressing this thing on there is put the little retaining ring on before you thread the press tool onto the center bolt here. And then the other thing you need to make sure you do is put this plastic piece on that connects for the horn. You put that through one of these little holes here, and then that's not correct. Oh, it's this other way. So you put that through this hole, and then these kind of seat together, and the spring's actually going to be riding on this plastic part of this, which I was confused about for a moment, but now it makes sense. It's going to press up against this plastic part, which is pressed right against this metal part, and that's just fine. And then there's teeth. There's a way that this is keyed. You have to get this plate rotated on there in a specific way because there's one of these teeth that isn't carved out. So you need to find the place that has the missing tooth on the plate and the shaft and line them up. And then it'll slip on there. And then you have to put the little ring on here, like I said, before you thread this tool on there, because otherwise you'll not be able to get it on without breaking it. So then you thread this little tool on here. My threads for this center shaft on the end here are a little messed up, but I'm going to try to get as many of them engaged as possible so that I'm not ripping them off. And then you just kind of use this big wing nut to tighten the thing down until you can see the groove that C clip is supposed to fall into. It starts to get pretty tight before you get there. Then I just use my fingernails to push this C clip down the rest of the way on the shaft until it engages into that little slot. I'll poke it with a screwdriver to make sure it's fully seated in there. Looks pretty good. And then if I start backing this off, that C clip should hold this together. Yep, all right. So that worked, and then we can unscrew our tool from that center shaft. Cool. All right, now this spring with a wire connected to it goes into this little hole here. I think I'm going to clip this excess rubber sheathing that's kind of hanging off here. Oh, what other parts do we have? We've got some parts of a bracket that goes down there. Need to get that put back on and put the wires together. And then we've got the cover for this instrument panel that needs to go back on that has the switches for the lights and stuff on it. Alright, that's clipped up well enough. Okay, nice. Let's see, I've got this center nut for the steering wheel itself. All of that screwed together. That works. Tilt's working. Okay. I don't know why that moves this around so much. So we got that on there. Just trying to make sure there's nothing else that I'm concerned about having on there. Now, it's got to go on there like that.
Is the wobbling as you got some...
I've got the bracket off.
Yeah, okay. And I can't remember, does the horn button thing go through here to go in? Because that goes in first.
Yeah, so I mean it's on the plastic thing,
Yeah.
and then this goes in, and then this cover.
It pushes and clicks in or something?
So that goes on there.
Right.
So that's where the switch is, and then this is just to make sure that it's pressed into that contact.
And then there you push it in and it sort of snaps in there and twists, I thought. Let me take a look at it here.
Might be right.
Yeah, it's got a tab right there. And so I'm not sure if you put it on before the steering wheel or after.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to, anyway. Well, that's just
To see that it's got this groove.
yeah, but I don't think it goes. That cover, whatever that is okay. Well, maybe. Maybe try it now without the sleeve on it. And see
And
if,
it's like this is supposed to be the other way. Like whoever put this on put it the wrong way. You know what I mean?
yeah. But maybe it has to go in after. No, it wouldn't make sense. We go after. It doesn't go down far enough. It seems like.
Yeah, I mean that's bottomed out. So
Okay.
I mean, this tab is supposed to be here on the
Yeah.
bottom. This tube is flipped upside down. Which I don't see any convenient way to remedy. Oh no, okay. It's got a peg on both sides. It's just broken off.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I mean, if there's a convenient way to flip that around, that's pressed on there too well. I don't want to fuck that up, really. We could.
Is the tab still enough there to hold it in there?
No.
Okay. Does it go in after you put the steering wheel in through that hole?
This does, yeah.
Yeah, okay. It might just kind of hold it in there, kind of. I'm not sure.
I can't remember if there was something that would retain it.
there isn't anything that doesn't hold in, so it would just have to figure out a way to mash it in there or something.
Pretty much. So
and it's not the end of the world if the horn doesn't work.
it'd be nice. The horn hasn't been working for a long time, and I've been in some dangerous situations where people are barreling towards me and not knowing they're in the wrong lane and stuff.
Yeah.
Is the battery disconnected?
I don't know.
I think it is. Maybe it's just dead?
It might be just dead, yeah. In fact, did you turn the headlights on? Did they turn on?
Let's see.
You don't have to have the ignition on for it.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Okay. Yeah, in fact, I think this parking light got hit while it was dangling, and that must have drained the battery. Where's the JB weld gonna be? I can never find anything around here. I suppose maybe the easiest thing to do would be to just kind of crush this brass contact so that the tube could slide over it, and then slide the tube back over it, the correct direction. What do you think?
Probably.
Hope it doesn't break. No, I don't know. That feels like I'm just gonna break it. So, I don't know. It'd be neat if we could just kind of get some JB weld on it. I don't know where I have some JB weld around here. I keep buying it and it keeps disappearing, but...
Let's see. Let me see if I got some butt connectors in the car.
Okay.
Maybe just snip the wire and...
Right. Yeah. Okay, we'll do that, and then go ahead and try to get this down on there. Alrighty, let's see if that's going straight. Trying not to get this thing started crooked.
Yeah.
A little messed up. Where's the correct socket?
These butt connectors are kind of long, but it might fit into this and we just trim it down.
Yeah. Okay, it feels like it's going on straight. There's my other battery for this thing. I've got a...
It's on there pretty good. There's no play.
I've got a Sawzall with a battery. One of those on it. Let me get that. You want to,
Fiddle with that?
good enough. That rod that controls the ignition seems to be running into something in this plastic shroud that we cut. Yeah, I'm not sure how to get this plastic shroud to stop interfering with this mechanism. Seemed like I had it for a second there. There we go. Something about this lever's position. That's irritating. All right, well, I guess before I put that back, I'll do that. All right.
got this collar turned around.
Okay, let me try to finish putting this sleeve back where it goes.
Do you have a jump pack you want to?
Well, they lost my charger for it. They keep reorganizing the house and moving all my shit somewhere, so I don't know where they put it. Got jumper cables on the Jeep, though.
Okay.
And I guess we could hook up the charger that's on the RV to it if we had to.
Yeah.
Oh my God, get in there. Okay. There we go. Let's see how that works. So we got this little tube turned around. It has this little nub on one side. I guess it had another nub on the other side. That must have broken off. So we cut it, spliced it, flipped it around. Now I'm going to see if I can get it locked into its position here. Seems a little difficult. Maybe I'll use some pliers. Guess I'm gonna need some more light than that. All right, so basically I had to grip that tiny little tube there and push it in and twist it clockwise until it's seated into its position. And now it is making contact with the connector for the horn system. I'll just slip this wire onto the clip for this horn switch. Put that on there. Feels pretty good. Okay. All right, that should be everything up here. I just need to get the dash put back together and the wires put back together down here. So let's keep looking at this. It's a little dark, isn't it? let's see. For one thing, I need to clip these two stab connectors back on to whatever else they go to. I think they both just stab onto this one wire along with the other wires that are in there, and that's it. Okay, let's start on the short end. That's one. Use the pliers to squeeze that. Okay, that's two stab connectors. Well, that doesn't look right. What does that go to? Maybe it's right. Clean the grease off of this thing now. As much as I can, anyway. Alright, whatever. Okay. All right. Now I believe this went onto there. This switch. Dang it, come here. You fucking bastards. It's fine. Okay. God damn it. This hazard light button back on before it rolls away. Okay, Here's the little flathead screwdriver I just had. Might be able to spread open this crimp connector that got the wire pulled out of it. Well, not having much luck. Well, that's not budging. That's really annoying. Gotta put the switches through this first. Unfortunately, that all broke apart. I'm gonna have to weld that if I'm gonna expect this to go together. Yep, needs some glue. Okay, do that. And see, this has happened before. Gotta put this big bracket back on to hold this thing up now. I think it goes this way. Maybe not. I think it goes this way. Get the rest of those hand threaded. Huh? There we go. So yeah, the last thing is that I just need some JB weld to weld all of these like little screw things, the plastic things ripped off of there. Looks like it's happened before. But yeah, I just need some JB weld to place this thing back on there so that the headlights don't fall in when you push them.
Oh, okay.
That's the last thing I need. I've got JB weld around here somewhere. I'll look around.
I'll just close the hood, but everything looks good.
Yeah, everything's done. Well, once I put this bracket up, it will be.
Yeah, I'll maybe get some seat covers for these seats. Some of those big, heavy, padded ones.
Oh, that sounds good.
Okay.
Well,
good job, Dan. You know,
Thanks.
I mean, that's a hard one to do.
I'm getting better at this stuff.
I'll just probably go over to the pot shop and close that.
Okay, well, this will be finished in the morning, I guess. As soon as that thing's done getting glued, I'll pop it in and.
Okay.
That'll be
Now
all
maybe
done.
just if you jump it, well, you might just. I've been trying to charge that battery and it didn't have quite enough connection. But if you want to go ahead and take, you know, the one that's my battery charger, You know, that works more reliably.
Which one's that?
The one on the left, the one this.
Oh, there's two in there?
There's two in there because, yeah, the thing, whatchamacallit, inverter doesn't want to charge batteries anymore.
Right, yeah. Yeah, well, I think John might have blown it, putting 240 on it. I told him I don't think it's going to be 240. And I did the same thing, I guess, where I just figured, like, I don't know, this guy probably knows what he's talking about.
Well, he does, but he doesn't stop and think.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Oh, I hate that everything is so wet and cold all the time, but it's too filthy for me to be wearing my jacket. Just got to get in the habit of wearing my disgusting-looking jacket all the time.
Yeah.
Never look good and get stuff done around here.
No. Well, yeah, I guess you can put the charger on there, and then you can charge it with the hood down, like overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll probably just start right up. That would be the best thing.
Yeah, I'll do that so as not to stress it out, I guess. Just give it a good long charge.
One of these days I'll pick up a timing light, and then we'll time this thing properly so when you first go to start it, it doesn't just, out like it does.
Okay.
It goes, you know.
It's amazing how long you've had this thing.
Yeah. Well,
We should just go for a record at this point. In fact, I wonder if this is the longest single-owned GMC Sierra in the country right now.
it owns some 69 that's still driving around.
Yeah, I guess probably. 34 years.
Yeah, it's actually, you can put antique plates on it if you wanted.
Yeah.
I got this camper shell from Crazy Mike for free.
Yeah, I remember the stickers. Yeah, have you heard from him?
Not really, but he's around. I see him on Facebook. He got in a motorcycle accident, but he's okay. The motorcycle got all destroyed.
Jeez.
He seems alright.
Well, that's good.
I talked to this guy, Todd. He seems alright.
Who?
Todd.
Who's that?
That's John's co-worker. This a little tighter, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's on there now. Well, that takes care of that. I just need to get some JB Weld from somewhere. I'm sitting in the truck right now just preparing to screw the last 3 screws together for the dashboard. And that'll be the end of the video for this truck repair. So I'll edit that, get that put together. And then the next one, I suppose, is going to be something about this chicken coop build, because that's what I'm going to be doing next. Oh my god, I finally would be able to like put things down and rely on them not to disappear and just all kinds of good stuff like that, you know? Yeah, I know. Alright. Yeah, and I just now finished the repair on this truck. Got it fired up. I'm gonna just kind of back it up a little bit to make sure this clutch is working fine, because the steering column needed to be repaired all this time, so I got that done, but I haven't really had a good chance to check out how well John did with this clutch replacement. It feels good though. Clutch pedal feels normal. Feels like it used to. Ooh, how's that? That's probably a little odd, huh?